When working with the visualizer, you have the option to upload an image of your own home and use the tools to prepare it within the visualizer. To do that, go to the Upload Photo page. The image can be dragged and dropped into this box, or you can click on this box to pull up your files on your device and select the one you would like to use. Once you have the correct image in the form, click the Upload button. The first step to preparing our project is to set the project scale. By setting the scale, we're going to tell the program what size something is in the image so that it knows how to render the product accurately. To set the project scale, we're going to draw a measuring line on the height of something that we know the measurement for. If you know the height of your doors, windows, or walls, you can use any of those features to draw your measuring line. We recommend using the height of an entry door. So if you have a door on your image, move your cursor to the top of the door and click once to start drawing your measuring line. Your measuring line will be yellow. Take your mouse to the bottom of the item that you're measuring and click again to set the measuring line into place. On the left, you will see that the default length of this line is set to 6 feet 8 inches. If you know your door is a non-standard height, or if you are measuring something else on your image, adjust the height of that line using the boxes here. When you're happy with your selection, click the Continue button. The second step we need to do is add some areas on our image so that we can start applying some product. Underneath the masking areas, there are a number of buttons related to the different products that you can apply to your home. Pick which area on your home you would like to draw first. We recommend drawing things that are furthest away from the camera and working your way forward. To start a new layer of that type, click on the button. Your drawing tool has two options, contour and rectangle. Contour is selected by default. I'm going to start in the upper left corner of my roof. I'm going to line my cursor up with the top outer edge of my roof, and I'm going to click once to set my first anchor point into place. I now have a blue line following my cursor around. It is anchored to the image from that place that I clicked. I am going to go and click on all of the outer corners of my area that I would like to outline, setting an anchor point into place each time I click. I'm going to loop all the way around the area that I'm outlining, and I'm going to go back to my first start point. When I hover over my first start point, I should see a white hand symbol appear. When I see the white hand symbol, I can click to tell the program that I've finished looping all the way around the area and I'm done drawing. As soon as I click on the white hand symbol, I see a blue fill. This blue fill indicates the area that is going to be filled with product. My left menu now displays the Edit Surface menu options. These are all of the editing options available for this layer that I currently have selected, the one that I just drew. I can do things like add more areas to this surface. I can remove from what I've already drawn. I can set the perspective of the layer to tell the program which direction the product should go in. And I can set the transparency and opacity of the layer if I need to make it more transparent or more opaque. Because this is a roof piece and it is at an angle to the camera, I'm going to need to set the perspective. So from this menu on the left, I'm going to click Set Layers Perspective. This provides me with a red box. I can click and drag this red box around on my image. What I want to do is I want to click and drag each of these four corners and line them up with the four corners of my roof. Once I've done that, I can click the Done button. And now that I've set the perspective, this layer is finished. I can scroll down to the bottom and look for the Done button. That takes me back to the drawing area. I want to add additional surface areas to my project. This time I would like to draw some walls. So I am going to click the Wall button to start a new wall layer. Again, I have the option to either stay with the contour tool or choose to use a rectangle tool. If I click on rectangle, that's going to let me draw using a box shape. I'm going to line my cursor up with the top left corner of my wall. I'm going to click to set my first anchor point into place. And because I'm using my rectangle tool, I now have a rectangle or box following my cursor around. I'm going to line myself up and click to complete the shape. I'm going to scroll down to the Done button. I have my top wall section completed. Now I need to draw a section for the lower wall. I'm going to start a new wall layer. I'm going to select rectangle again. I'm going to line myself up, click to set that first anchor point, and once I'm happy, I can click again to finish drawing the shape. The product will go in all of the areas where the blue fill is located, which means the product will cover over my concrete step. If I want to, I can use the Remove from Surface option to erase that particular area from my shape. I'm going to click Remove from Surface. I'm going to leave it on the contour tool, and I'm going to line myself up with the bottom of this step to set my first anchor point. And I'm going to just click and each time around the outer edge of my concrete slab. And I'm going to line myself up with my first anchor point, look for the white hand, and click to set that into place. I now have two walls and a roof, but perhaps I would like to add paint to my trim areas. So I'm going to click Paint to start a new paint layer. Click once again, and click again once I've lined it on the other side. And I'm going to draw a new paint layer for my vertical trim pieces. This time I'm using the contour tool, which means I'm clicking at all of the four corners, going back to my very first start point, looking for the white hand symbol, and clicking to close the shape. This layer consists of one corner trim piece, but there are two corner trim elements on this image. So I am going to use the Add to Surface button and draw an additional corner trim piece on the opposite side of the home. If I make a mistake, I can hover over any of those four corners that I've drawn, and there are small anchor points on each of those corners. I can click and drag those around to adjust the shape of my layer. Let's go add some window trim. And again, with the window trim, there are three windows on this image. So I would like all three window trim areas to be on the same layer, which means I'm going to use my Add to Surface button to add the additional sections that I need. And finally, I may want to paint my door. And again, I can adjust any of those angled points just by clicking and dragging them into place as needed. Next, I'm outlining my soffit, fascia, and gutters all together in one layer. This is a much more complicated layer and requires me to click at all of the different corners. So I am clicking multiple times as I change direction while I'm outlining around this entire structure on the home. As always, when I'm using the contour tool, I am looping all the way around the area that I'm drawing, and I'm coming back to that very first anchor point, looking for the white hand and clicking to close the shape. I now have a roof, I have soffit, fascia, gutters, I have one wall section and a different wall section, I have my corner trim, a horizontal trim piece, my window trim, as well as some door paint. We will want to test everything that we've drawn and perhaps come back to make adjustments, such as adjusting the natural level of transparency that the layers have. But this is a good start. Now we can go and test. So I'm going to use the Save and Continue button to proceed to the next step. We are now on the design view. We can apply products to all of the areas that we've added to our project. Now that we have applied product to our image, we can see that there are some things we want to adjust. We want to make sure there's no products covering over our window, so we will need to use a very special layer to make sure the program knows not to apply product in those areas. Secondly, we want to adjust the transparency of this layer in the top. The reason being, it is currently covering over a very dark section on the image, but that is causing shadows to show through and making the color of the product look inaccurate. To get back to the drawing and editing area, we will scroll up to the top of our product layers list and look for the edit option with the pencil icon. Now that we are back in the drawing area, we need to make some adjustments to the existing layers. To do that, we're going to hover over our image until we find the layer we want to adjust, and we're going to click on it to bring up the Edit Surface options. In this case, what we want to do is adjust the transparency or opacity of the layer. I'm going to use the opacity slider to make the layer more opaque, which should help cover over the dark siding underneath. Once I've done that, I can scroll down to the Done button. The other thing we wanted to do was tell the program not to apply product over top of our windows. To do that, we're going to use a very unique layer called the Foreground Layer. Drawing your foreground layer is exactly like drawing any other layer on the project. The one key difference is that there is only ever going to be one foreground layer on your project. Let's start adding these windows to our foreground layer. To do that, I'm going to use the rectangle tool to get started. Now remember, this layer is going to tell the program that no product should go in this area. You'll notice that this has a red fill. Again, this is to remind you that this area will not have any products applied on it, no matter how many other layers are on top. Now that I've drawn my first section to the foreground layer, I need to use the Add to Surface options to continue drawing more spaces. I'm going to use the rectangle tool again to outline my next window. I'm going to repeat this process for all of the areas that I would like to add to my foreground layer. I can even use the foreground layer to to add spaces or elements such as exterior lights. I can even use this to outline my patio chairs. Now that we've added elements to our foreground layer and adjusted the opacity of this top wall space, I can go and test the results. I'm going to click the Save and Continue button to take us back to our design area. There may be additional elements we want to adjust, or perhaps we would like to group some areas together so that they all will change at the same time, such as these paint layers. To group layers together, I'm going to go back to my Edit options, and I'm going to look for the Group tab at the top of my drawing area. From the Group tab, I can click on the matching area types, such as the paint layers for the window trim, the horizontal trim piece, as well as my corner trim, and I can click Group. Now, when I go back to the design area, we will see that when I change the product color of those spaces on my image, all of them will change at once. I can do this process of testing and editing as many times as I wish. Each time editing the layers that I've already drawn by selecting them from the draw area, making the adjustments, clicking the Done button, going at Save and Continue to return to my design area to see the results. Once I'm happy with the result, I may want to start saving my designs. In order to do that, I need to make sure that I've saved this project to my Visualizer account. In order to save this project, you'll need to make sure you sign in. If you don't yet have an account, use the Create Account drop-down. Once you're signed in, use the Save option in the upper right corner. Now that your project has been saved, you can use the Snapshot menu to save multiple designs. Remember, changing products is just as easy as clicking on the area that you want to change, scrolling up through the menu options until you find the style you would like to choose, making your final color selection, and watching it render on the project. Saving a second design using the Snapshot menu will give you the option to toggle back and forth between your two selections. And of course, both of your options will be available on your design report. Use the Print Report option to either print it or save it as a PDF so that you can keep a digital copy for yourself. We hope you have fun using these tools to prepare your own images.